Of course, all focus tomorrow will be the vice presidential debate. That is slated for Salt Lake City tomorrow. We've learned a little bit about how things have changed now to prepare for that. Rather than being 6 feet from each other, both candidates are going to be 12 feet from each other. We're also getting word right now that they're going to be using plexiglass. I don't know exactly how high or how distinct it will be or noticeable to folks watching it on air, but we'll all get a chance to see that tomorrow. What's at stake for that debate right now that has the vice presidential candidates who normally don't get much attention getting a disproportionate amount of one, certainly after that raucous presidential debate. Kelly Hyman joins us right now, Democratic strategist, Joseph Pinion, Republican strategist. Kelly, what is at stake for this VP debate? They're both sort of calmer players, so that could limit the interruptions and all that we saw in the first debate, but it's put pressure on both of them. How would you describe it?
No, thank you so much for having me on the show. I think it's actually going to be a debate where people have a conversation and that they're able to discuss the issues, because we all know the way that Trump handled the debate and constantly interrupting. And I think the American people want to know what they stand for and want to know the issues. And so I think it's really important for American people to see what the VP, because they are a heartbeat away from the presidency. And so I think it's going to be really important. I think we're going to have a lot of people watching the VP debate.
Joe, they're talking a lot that this particular debate could score more viewers than did the record holder for at least VP debates, the Sarah Palin, one with Joe Biden. And I'm wondering if you agree with that there's more heightened interest in this, not only because of what happened or transpired at the presidential debate, but given the age of the presidential nominees, that we could be looking at one of these guys being, a future president. Or maybe this is the next presidential battle. What do you think?
Well, look, to be clear, Kamala Harris, were the Biden and Harris ticket to be successful, she is the president in waiting that the Democrats have anointed, particularly irrespective of which one of these candidates wins. They would be the oldest person to take the oath of office. And so I think that alone is why there's going to be heightened interest in this debate. But I think also it's a good opportunity to have these figures who have the ear of the respective candidates to articulate exactly what the plan is. For somebody like Vice President Pence to sit there and say concretely that the tax credits that led to higher wages, Senator Harris and Vice President Biden want to get rid of. That all of the things that we've been able to do, whether you're talking about the 7 million people that got jobs in the pre-COVID economy, all of those businesses are going to be hammered by tax increases that the Democrats are promising from day one. So I think it's a good opportunity to delineate the lines of division between what the vision is moving forward for the next 4 years for a Trump administration and the kind of back to the future politics that Biden is promising, the slowest recovery in the history of the modern world that he was the co-pilot for with Barack Obama.
Kelly, if you were advising Kamala Harris as she prepares for this debate, how much would you get into the president his own dealing with this virus? Would you not touch it? Is it like a third rail issue? Would you expand it to health care and maybe the concerns about, what's happening about would average Americans have the same treatment the president enjoys? How would you dance on that one?
I think it's important to talk about issues that are affecting the American people, and the economy and health care and COVID-19 is affecting them continually. And I have to disagree with a lot of Joseph said. American people are struggling personally, professionally, financially on Trump's watch. We have to think about, are we better off today than we were 4 years ago? And the answer is absolutely not. People are struggling.
Well, to be fair, to be fair, we had this COVID-19 thing. So are we better off than we were at the worst levels of this in March? Wouldn't that be a fair question?
Well, we have to think about when Trump came into office. He inherited a great economy under Obama. And studies have shown that
he made it better, right?
He
made it better. I'm not denying that the 8 years prior were very, very good. It was a good groundwork. But would you at least acknowledge prior to the virus that he brought already relatively low unemployment rates and cut them in half? And for demographics such as African Americans and women and Latinos, cut them by 2/3. Would you at least acknowledge that prior to the virus, he had a good thing going?
Well, I would disagree with you. It was him. I think he inherited a really good economy under Obama and Biden and got that. And what he's done to everything he's done to his businesses is destroy it. And that's what he's doing to economy. And he's also doing that to healthcare. He wants to get rid of Obamacare, but he has no plan for the American people or people with pre-existing diseases. And so when you think about that and you think about sitting today, are you better off 4 years ago economically than you were? The answer is no. So there's a real clear choice for the American people on if they want Trump
well,
the divider.
we can argue over the
United.
timing. I mean, to ignore the pandemic and its impact worldwide, I think is a bit disingenuous. But having said that, Joe, she did again raise a point about the. Well, you just did. But when it came to healthcare, when it comes to healthcare, that is a very valid point. And Joe, I'm just wondering if the president, now talking about it more often and yet sort of flaunting some of the COVID-19 rules, like whipping off the face mask from the South Lawn yesterday. I'm just wondering if he is sort of mocking this thing to the point that Americans are going to be offended by it. What do you think?
Look, I think to the extent that Americans were offended by President Trump's stance on the COVID-19 virus, they've already made the decision to vote for the other person. But I think if we're talking about that persuadable section of Americans, again, this election was decided by 78,000 voters across 3 states just 4 years ago. So if we're talking about that sliver of individuals looking for a reason to vote for President Trump, I think it's insulting to them to somehow suggest that they cannot discern from the fact that they were probably one of the 7 million people that got a job underneath President Trump that didn't have a job when he took the oath of office before the COVID-19.
But Joe, wouldn't they be offended? Wouldn't that sliver be offended by him whipping off that face mask, by apparently returning to essentially business as usual in the White House and not seemingly to have learned anything from it? I hope I'm wrong, but the impression was everything's back to as it was. I'm taking this thing off. I'm going to do what I normally do. And I don't know. I don't know for that slither of undecided voter whether that's a winning message. It seems.
Look, I
seems
think if you're talking about, I don't think the optics were great. Having said that, I don't think those optics alone are what people are going to be deciding this election on. They're going to be deciding on, do I have a pathway back to having the ability to put food on my family's table? Do I have the opportunity, again, if I live in one of those opportunity zones, to have those resources keep coming in when Democrats have promised to obliterate them? I think, again, issue by issue, if Kelly is going to talk about what impacts people living and dying, the notion that somehow that Americans were uniquely affected by COVID, I don't think is a realistic and honest reading of the facts. And I think if you want to talk about swing voters, there's even an opportunity to start talking about climate change because Joe Biden just got on stage and said that he does not support the Green New Deal. And so I think it's an opportunity for Republicans, and we're seeing this now in swing states across this country, to start talking about those policies as well.
All right, guys, I wish I had more time. We are monitoring the former vice president. He will be in Pennsylvania all day today making an address at Gettysburg, of all places, again, just to hearken on the leadership theme and that we have to come together as a country. We'll get a sense of where he thinks the president should be pushing on the whole COVID-19 issue a little bit later as well.